everybody, welcoming you back in to another edition of the USFL podcast. Zack here, sitting in the host seat after, well, a little over a week away. Jesus, it's getting up to speed. It's been something. We'll get into that. Chilling here in the host seat once again for episode 28 of the USFL podcast. Another episode in the hat of our off-season editions, alongside my friend, co-host of the show, the persona himself, the ref himself, on the opposite side. Look, you and James did a great job holding down the show last week. I mean, what can I say? You know, it was nice to see you guys sharing stories and all that, and clearly, you know, as we've talked on our side, and you know, us sharing all three. James's photos, I mean, they're just excellent. How you doing, my friend?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's Stubble Ref Summer. I don't know how stubbly I was last week, but I know when you were here last time I was really stubbly. Yes, I think I might keep it going. It's, you know, most people grow the beards in the winter. I'm not a big beard guy, but I like the stubble. I'm going Stubble Ref Summer. But other than that, feeling good. It was fun having James on. It was a little bit different, but I feel like the flow went pretty good. Speaking of those photos, we actually have all of the photos posted on USFL Newsroom. I'll have a link down in the description.
Nice.
So, I mean, if you want to relive the action from the battle between the Birmingham Stallions and the Philadelphia Stars, I mean, there's some sweet shots in there. Everything from during the game, after the game, locker room, press conferences, everything you can imagine. But I mean, it's been a wild week. I mean, you missed the first round of signings. We have a bunch of signings here that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. We're going to be talking about some player workouts. But I mean, it's been. We'll talk about your big trip too. I mean, you just got back. That's why you were gone across the pond in Ireland. So I mean, before we jump into the big guts of it, safe travels, good things. I saw maybe a little bit of flight hiccups in the mix there.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm going to leave that for last because it's its own separate story. That's the simple thing. I mean, I tried to kind of catalog it a little bit on my own Twitter, by the way, that's at Zack Canella, if you want to check that out. But otherwise, you know, Ireland, what can I tell you? First off, the stigma, they're friendly people. I'm not even joking. This isn't like some sort of stereotyping or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like friendly as can be type of folks. Here's a great example. We drove, by the way, in the country. So we rented a car. We had gone to Dublin for about 2 days and then rented a car from the airport, and we drove on the southern side of the island, the one that's independent, not Northern Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that in mind. There's two countries.
Oh, I'm aware.
One isle.
For reasons just saying, we won't talk about, but I'm aware.
I know. I'm just saying. You can do a little research. Nonetheless, so we're going to Dingle, a little like seaside community, and we stop in another town with like this windmill. My mom's a picture holic. I went with her for the trip. So she's like, you got to pull over. I'm like, all right, I'll pull over. Pull over. Some dude from an apartment, I'm not joking, a block away. I guess he assumed we're Americans. He somehow heard our voice. I guess he came out of his flat. I'm going to be British Isles on you here. He came out of his flat, told us a place to go, and like he's like, there's this lovely little island or section of the peninsula here. If you go out, and this is just me interpreting how he sounded, because it was kind of like that. But yeah, it's similar deal. You know, you'll get people, they'll start up conversations, and you can talk for, you know, pretty much an hour or hour plus more of just, you know, talking about life. It's a lovely country, very old worldy. For example, it's nothing like what we see in any typical U.S. town or U.S. city. In terms of, like, if you're talking Dublin, it's you wouldn't imagine it's like a U.S. city at all. It's very, very disjointed, old buildings with semi-new buildings and like all over. One of the tallest buildings in Dublin is actually the Guinness Storehouses building. They have like they have a sky. I think it's the Sky Lounge, Sky Bar. I'm spacing on the specific name at the moment, but it's one of the tallest buildings. It's a bar up there. You get a free mug or a free pint of Guinness up there, which it is better at the Storehouse.
Oh, it has to be.
It is. It absolutely is. I have a newfound appreciation for this stuff. Fun little fact, by the way, for beer drinkers out there. I didn't realize this. A pint of Guinness has about the same calories as a pint of Miller Lite.
Yeah,
think about that for a second.
It is, because you would think with it being such a heavy beer, it would be loaded up. But yeah, Guinness is an anomaly. I mean, I got to be in the right mood. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
But I mean, when I'm in the mood for a Guinness, there's nothing that can beat it other than a Guinness. And I mean, I know this probably wasn't on your trip, but the fact that they have a draft can, I mean, why is Guinness the only one to be rolling out with that revolution of a beer technology? I don't know. One question I have for you, because
Sure.
I've traveled overseas. I've never driven overseas, especially where, the lanes are switched. That did it take a little bit of getting used to, or was it just like you were doing it and it just you just had to remind yourself, or it just felt normal? Like that to me feels like a little bit of an adjustment.
Yeah, it's a bit. I'll be honest. I was the one that had to take the car first out of the airport. So I did that little journey, and it's about a 15 to 20 minute adjustment period to, you get in the car. Of course, it's the opposite side of the car, so you feel weird doing it. But also, there's your mind wants to go and course correct to the right lane. So you're on the left side and you're wanting to course correct to the right. So staying in the lines for like the first few times you do it, you're fighting your own self.
Right.
Like mentally, you'll see yourself drifting like, no, and then eventually you get it down. Something with Ireland, and this is also UK. Just got to finish that up with the driving, is they have it's narrower roads. Like, it is beyond narrow. And actually, it's funny. Someone, because I do the arena show, they went, oh, so it's like you're on an arena football field. And I'm like, well, and I stopped for a second, go, well, yeah, it's like the dasher pads, because there's stone walls on the side, but on top of the stone walls is the facade of padding or plants. So if you hit it, you're actually going to feel much worse. And we didn't run into there was like one person on this whole 10-day trip I saw that got into a car crash because they clipped a wall. Otherwise, people know how to drive around. They're used to it. And I got used to it too. Just if you're in the passenger seat on the opposite side, though, you're like wide-eyed all the time, because it feels like you're whipping around like crazy. I can't tell you how many times my mom in the passenger seat's like, oh my God, slow down.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I will. And then I'm in the other seat and I do the same thing. I'm like, geez, I'm like grabbing the handle.
Yes.
So fun stuff. And look, my main thing with this trip is, I tell people now, or I've been telling people, because I've done other international trips too. Like, if you're able to go, if you have the means to go out and go somewhere outside of the country you're in and kind of see a little bit of the world outside of your zone that you're at, do it. I think that it's something. I think you want to see what everyone else, a little bit different worldview is what I recommend. And I think that was nice. I got the scenic pictures for days. I got memories for days. But I think the European lifestyle is much different than what we have in the U.S. It's very, it feels to me a little bit slower paced, a little more relaxed as well. But yeah, if you get a chance to go outside of this country, for those listening in or tuning in on YouTube, do it. Make that plan. If you're able to go, it doesn't have to be now. Take some time. Think it down the road.
Plan it
That's
for
my
a year
honest
or
opinion
two.
on it.
Yeah, Well, that's the thing.
It took a year to plan this trip, by the way. It was a year plan to go to Ireland. And I got to thank a lot to my mom, who is a travel-holic and like studies up all the time. She did so much stuff on the back end while I'm doing these shows, and supports me doing the shows like this. So I owe a lot to her, and I get plenty of memories with her from that too. So lovely time. What wasn't lovely, and this is where I'll finish this up and we can both complain, because apparently you have a story too with this. Look, right now, at least the last 2 months, I guess, I didn't know. Toronto Pearson International Airport, it's the worst airport experience I've had in my short 27 years on this planet. I can't explain how bad it was. Right now, flight delays, lost luggage, just confoundingly silly decisions to me on how you handle passengers moving between flights. I don't get it. I'm not going to say I'm an expert in Canadian air travel security or how Air Canada operates. It was horrible. I'm just warning you folks. If you fly international, by the way, if you're that dude I told you to go fly and you're like, oh, I'm going to go now, and you look at an Air Canada flight, just cancel it.
Yeah, don't go.
If you see Air Canada, don't even bother buying the flight. Look for anything else If your entire round trip has an Air Canada section, just don't do it. Just restart, find a different flight. I beg you. Do not do that. Do not be me here. It was awful. I still don't have my baggage. It has been about 4 days, and I watch it with my Tile app, roaming around Toronto, the airport, looking like a lost puppy. Where do I go? I got to go home, right? I'm eventually going to reconvene. I've got sample whiskey in there.
Oh,
You know what also hurts? All but one, and this is on me, so people can laugh at me too. I have all but one of my Michigan Panthers merchandise in that suitcase.
See, that's what it is. One of those flight guys opened it up for inspection. They're like, whiskey and USFL gear. Sucker. Now they're just trying to shuffle it around the airport for a while, hoping that you forget.
Maybe. I'm like, because I got my collared shirt. I got like the pre-USFL shop T-shirt in there. Luckily I saved the one that's from the current shop. That was my emergency T-shirt, funny enough. So when that got lost, that was in my backpack. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Advertising in rival country.
Sign them up.
So yeah, just don't fly Air Canada right now. Maybe later on. But if you're watching this episode right in the moment, please, I beg you, just think about it a little bit. Don't be me. Avoid that asshole.
See, I wish I could remember what airline we took. We were coming from Dominican Republic. I couldn't remember if it was Dominican Republic or Costa Rica, but it was Dominican Republic. Not that it really matters. Short little segue story before the real story we're going to talk about. On the way to the airport, we had a guy driving a bus from the resort to the airport, and he had said something about the lobby of the airport having what I thought he said was big ass fans. And I turned to my wife now. She wasn't my wife then. I said, "Do you say big ass fans?" She's like, "I think so." I said, "There's no way. There's no way. We just misunderstood him, right?" We get into the airport, and where there's security, I look up, and there's big ass fans, like huge, big fans. And then if you look in the middle, that was the brand name of the fan. It's literally, you can look it up. They have big ass fans is a brand. And I was like, he did say big ass fans. So anyway, that's just the lead in. That's the fun. That's the sweet to the sour. So we get to, so we're waiting for our plane. Everything, same thing. It's like everything's delayed. But they said, okay, we have this one for you. It's like 4 hours after your flight's supposed to take place, but we're supposed to have like a 4.5 hour layover. So they said, if you land, you might be able to make that flight. And I'm like, isn't promising, but it gets me back into my native country. You know what? Sign me up. Let's do that. So we get on the flight. We do the whole thing. And I mean, we get off the plane, and as we turn the corner where the line for customs, I mean, we're talking like 10 people wide, just so deep, the whole length of the hallway. And I just looked at my wife now again. I said, I don't think we're going to make it. And somebody looked at us and said, no, just tell them you're late for your flight. And dude, we just booked it. And they led us right to the front. But here's the thing, our bag's on the other flight, right? And I'm assuming this is what happened to you. So somehow, I mean, we got there as they were closing the door. We're like, wait. And we got on the plane. But of course, our luggage, I mean, that it was so far behind. And yeah, it took about like a week for it to finally come here. Now, this is before the days of like Apple AirTags or anything like that to where you can see where it's going. But I assume it was it got to Florida, and somebody at Florida said, who does this belong to? It's just been circling this wagon. And then who knows? And then it has to go to Boss C. Boss C says, have you checked with Supervisor D? Oh, Supervisor D might know. And it just makes the circles until finally somebody probably looks at the tag, types in the computer, and like, oh, this belongs in Arizona or Illinois or Texas now for me. But yeah, it's going to happen to everybody once in your life. To me personally, amazed that it never happened at O'Hare. O'Hare used to be like my bad luck airport, but I never lost my luggage. I've not missed flights. If I say missed flights, it makes it sound like I was at fault for missing a flight. The flights didn't leave or got delayed or whatever happened at least 3 times in O'Hare. This is why now I just pay extra money so I don't have layovers, because if the layover is in Chicago, I'm almost guaranteed to be stuck there. I don't know. Maybe not anymore.
It's that automatic for you. Is that what you're saying?
It is. And now it's comical because my parents live in Illinois, so I fly into O'Hare, but it's only the destination is O'Hare. So I feel like I get there, they can't delay me leaving. So I feel like it's safe enough. And luckily I haven't had a problem on the way. Back from there since then. We'll see. Ask me again at Thanksgiving. Oh, good times.
That too funny. I mean, look, I'll admit it. I'm I'm happy to be back. Like, I'm already getting back into the swing of things. Before this one, if you guys know, I do another, like I said, I talk arena football, another show Inside the Walls, and getting back into that swing with my other co-host was there. So I'm just happy to be here. And honestly, getting some of the surprises over the last 10 days that we've had with like signings has been really rewarding. And funny enough, like, we just got slammed with them going into this show.
Oh yeah.
All of a sudden, like, there's a few things that actually I got to add while we're talking. I was looking around a little bit before we got on and started officially recording. Mm-hmm. There's actually a nugget that Sports Business Journal found that I'll throw in the notes while we're discussing the players. You'll see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You won't on the screen, ladies and gentlemen.
But
trust me, it'll click here. Nonetheless, I do want to say, let's jump into some players, man. Let's talk about these signings. So you have been intrigued to see where the process goes for player signings because of the fact that this is a league that is later in the year in terms of a finish. So how many will we get before we get into the meat and potatoes of training camps, as well as preseason for the NFL? Because it is currently, as of this recording, it's July 21st. So keep that in mind. That's getting later into the off-season programs for these NFL teams, but there's still options to fill in those rosters. Almost to double-digit signings.
Oh, yeah.
Looking like we're going to push double-digit signings at some point pretty soon. And I know you talked a few. Mm-hmm. There was 3 that you guys got on the last show. Now it's up to 9 in the past week.
Which I love to see it, right? And that was, you brought up the big point. How many we're going to jump because we're very close to the training camps, preseason coming up with the NFL. But I mean, we're seeing a good number out of the gate. And as we talk through some of these names and the ones that we mentioned last week, I know there's going to be a few names that people, as we go through these, say, what about these guys? Well, hold on, because after that, we're talking about guys that are scheduled to have workouts or have worked out for a team, or in some cases, teams in the NFL. So, I mean, everything seems to be coming together. And I don't know. So you want to run down this list and go through the guys that we have here?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's run through the next 6 players that have now been signed over to the NFL, which, by the way, for these signings, the USFL has been making posts. It actually is making them trend on Twitter right now every time they get a new player. So we're doing a pretty good job getting social interaction lately with these. So the 6 that you maybe have been following or we didn't talk about last show, or really, the ref here and James didn't talk about last show because they weren't signed yet. Doug Costin, he is going from Birmingham. He is signed to the Pittsburgh Steelers, defensive tackle for the Birmingham Stallions. Jeremiah Farms, you might recognize that name, one of the more top tier interior linemen in the league. He's going from the Pittsburgh Maulers. He'll be joining the New England Patriots right now for their preseason programs here. Isaiah Zuber, you definitely know this one.
Bittersweet for me, I'm going to say.
But you knew signings like these were coming.
Oh, yeah.
At some point.
There's a couple. Bittersweet, but I love it. Gamblers guy going to the Raiders. I get it. Here's the thing. I'm sorry. There's probably some Raiders fans that listen to the show. I don't know why it's such a hard switch for me to really get behind Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, it's actually a perfect fit because the Raiders, I'm not going to say that. That's mean. No, I am going to say it. The Raiders are a little grimy. Las Vegas is a little grimy. So I feel like they fit together. But it's so hard for me, even when I was going through the notes my instinct, either Oakland or Los Angeles. I don't know why Las Vegas Raiders is so hard for me to seep into my head. Every time I see it, I'm like,
Okay.
oh yeah, that's right. The Raiders are in Las Vegas now, even though I clearly know that the Raiders are in Las Vegas. Sorry, that's my little tirade there.
Oh, sure. But no, look, it's still newish. It's not as bad as when, because I sometimes still have a slip, and I'll say it's the San Diego Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
That one still hasn't gotten set in, but that's just because, I mean, it's LA market. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You can find any joke on the internet about the Chargers in terms of attendance. That's all I'm going to leave it at. But I mean, Zuber's going to the Raiders. I mean, not one of the two signings for the Raiders here. Which, by the way, for Zuber, and this is what I kind of want to start paying attention with some of these guys. For example, defensive tackle and receiver. Those are positions that are heavily competitive in camps. So I hope that some of these guys do get a chance to stick. Zuber right now, according to ESPN, I know, funny how I mention it like that, they are ranking him as a third string receiver. That is pre-cut down. So it's not bad. I mean, credit, he's got the professional experience. So that's probably what's leaning into his side. So we'll see here. And there's a few others in this list I think that have a chance to stick for sure. Ike Brown is also going to Las Vegas from the New Orleans Breakers. Excellent season for the Breakers, one of their top cornerbacks. Again, another competitive position, but honestly, you know, having that professional experience you're coming straight out of, you know, being conditioned by now and going into camp this way, I do want to see how that plays out for the Raiders here. You know, and that's what you're going to find out as of these depth charts. I'm using ESPN for depth charts for those that are asking. It's funny, they don't actually have Ike Brown listed on my depth chart. So I find that interesting.
Well, he's also, strangely enough, I think there's some kind of glitch going on, because I know James was writing an article about it for USFL Newsroom, and his stats are missing on the Fox Sports page too. There's like relics of his account.
So actually that's something I was going to bring up at some point. Any of the guys that have signed, they have moved those names off. So they are keeping these rosters up to date based on contracts right now. So, if you look for Doug Costin, Jeremiah Farms, Isaiah Zuber, Ike Brown, and the two other names we're going to list in a second, they're not there. They've been keeping them pretty close. Maybe, and I'll say it just for the sake that this was as we jumped on, maybe Carlo Kemp. I'm going to look this up as we check anyway. But they've been kind of keeping it pretty close in terms of how they keep rosters up to date for their signs. And actually, Kemp is not on there anymore.
Yeah, so they
are sticking to it.
Yeah. Well, so we have Kemp going from the Maulers to the Chargers. And then this is the other bittersweet one for me. Sal Canella going from the Breakers to the Packers. I mean, I get it. Some people are Packers fans, FTP. Excuse me. But anyway, you know what, though? I mean, as a player, it's probably pretty sweet to go possibly get a pass thrown to you from Aaron Rodgers to make a team that, I mean, has some playoff potential right off the get-go. So, I mean, I love to see it. He's a solid dude. I think that he has a chance to definitely make it on a roster somewhere in the league. I can't recall who the Packers have at tight end.
They have Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis right off the bat. So Lewis is at this point becoming more the old guard of tight end. I mean, it's not his prime, but if you're looking at that's one I looked at this before the show. I would say he's got I think he has a solid chance to maybe stick. The thing that's going to come down with Green Bay, because they do mix it up and they don't lean as much in the tight end as other teams. They aren't the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But it's going to come down to, I think, how good his blocking is as well. And plus, when you're at that position in your depth chart too, can you do other things, which I think he'll try and see what else. I think his pass catching ability, though, is what gives him, as we know, his best chance to stick here with Green Bay. And quite frankly, Green Bay needs pass catchers, as we see. You know, there's no Devontae Adams. I'm not saying Sal Canella is going to do a Devontae Adams and take all Adams targets. No, but they need more. That is a part of their game. They are needing guys that are a little more solid and experienced at this point. Canella being an all USFL talent, dude proved himself and had a great piece of tape to end his season against the Stallions. Over 100 yards receiving in that game. He was the main target for Kyle Sloter. He did himself an excellent favor, put the cherry on top of his resume saying, hey, if you want a tight end, and if you want a tight end for depth, or you want someone that maybe can help you get a few extra targets as a second or third stringer, I'm your guy. Mm-hmm. And I think he locked himself down with that, at least to have a good shot. I think looking at the Packers, I think he has a good shot is how I put it. Because that one, I think, capped off their 90-man roster based on what I'm reading up. So,
well, and that's the thing.
They're set.
If he doesn't make it with the Packers, I think he'll get on another team for sure. I think he has the ability, and I mean, the footage is going to show from some of the things that he did throughout the season with the Breakers because, I mean, he was one of those top targets for Sloter, and I mean, the end of the season didn't really work out the way that they wanted, but that early season Breakers team looked unstoppable, and he was a big part of it both before and after that. So overall, I mean, it's great to see these guys getting signed already, but we're going to move on to the list, guys that are working out. So I think we're going to, by next week, Zach, I think we're going to have even more of these guys to talk about. I mean, right off the top of the list, this is the one I've already gotten a few emails, pings, DMs, whatever it is, carrier pigeon. People are asking Darius Victor, why is this guy not signed? Now,
yes,
I mean, looking at the team, though, New Orleans Saints, I feel like that's a perfect fit. I know the coach isn't the same, but I mentioned it. Maybe it was last week with James. Maybe it was the week before with you. Maybe it was both. But I feel like he's kind of a Darren Sproles-esque player, I mean, at least in the stature. And that's not a bad thing necessarily because, I mean, he found his success, and I think he can find his success here. And, I mean, it bodes well for him that the Saints are almost in a rebuilding phase as well, to where I think he has a great shot to make this team. Again, I should probably know this, but I'm not sure who his competition is right now. But I think he'll be able to make the cut. I mean, he was so damn good during that USFL season, and even in the postseason where in that one game.
Yeah, well, yes, Victor. I'm happy that he's getting looks from this. Obviously, his Offensive Player of the Year nod, or does that definitely helps with that record there. And quite frankly, I mean, you know, if you're looking for a guy that's got more of a bowling ball, you know, thick thighs, driving type of running back, good with pass catching, by the way. You always want your running backs in modern day football. You want to have as close to a dual threat running back as possible that can do it all. And I think that he's someone that, you know, New Orleans giving him a look, I don't mind. I think that if you look at their depth chart, and this is just me off the cuff here, I really do think that maybe there is a shot. Again, running back, it's one of those positions. You go into specialist, and it gets a little harder in terms of the competition, of course.
Oh,
running back's one of those. It's not as bad as receiver or cornerback, or maybe like any lineman type. But it still is a specialized spot that you really hope you impress right out of the gate. And I especially think that he can help his status as soon as they can get to preseason for him. So, I think New Orleans, if they do sign him, it's only a look right now. They got to try out, then there's a chance. But I won't go right off the gate. I hope he gets a chance. Otherwise, I mean, like I said, always you hope the USFL is a fallback.
Oh, sure.
Is with a lot of it too. But I always will say with these guys, go out, young man, and check out the NFL. That's what the springboard is for this.
Oh, sure.
That's exactly what this is up for. Other guys that have gotten looks, and actually that a lot of them today, all of a sudden, like I said, the waterfall's it's coming out. I think it's because teams are trying to fill up their 90-man training camp rosters. So you're going to see a lot more of these people getting looks right now that I think teams want competition going into camp. So all these ones today are from today. Just going to throw it out there, like as we're recording. Darius Shepard, receiver from the New Jersey Generals. He did get a look with the Browns. It was reported he didn't get signed with the Browns, but he at least is getting looks. Another receiver, Derek Dillon, receiver for the Tampa Bay Bandits. The Browns also took a look at him. And then the Cardinals, they did a massive look at really rosters and players from everywhere in terms of the USFL. You know, I think they have the ones that have the most looks. I know the Cowboys did a ton earlier on last week, but they have 5 as of today. Some big names too. Actually, all of them pretty decently recognized names. Chris Odom, obviously Defensive Player of the Year. You know, guy who is led the league in sacks for the Gamblers. Obviously, the ref, you know, that would be a bittersweet one, I think, for you.
I don't mind the Cardinals. You know, I lived in Arizona for a long time. They remind me of the Lions. And so when I moved there, that was, I think it was the year I moved there, they went to the Super Bowl. Maybe it was the year after. I can't recall. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get behind the Cardinals just for because I always have my post regular season team, because if you guys haven't figured it out, the Lions, if they make it to the postseason, which is almost never, they've only won one playoff game in my life. So anyway, I said, you know what? I'm going to watch the Cardinals team. And it was such a goofy team to be in there, because I think they were like 8-8 going into the offseason. Like they just got in with some goofy, like weird record, 500. And then, you know, they get to the Super Bowl and I'm watching it, and then it looks like they might win it. And then they Lions'd out. And they gave up that big play. Steelers, I wish I could remember his name, but that defensive dude just running all the way back, hooking him up to
James Harrison.
There you go. Yeah. He got the oxygen, but he sealed the deal with that game. It was a damn shame, though, because I really did want to see Kurt Warner bring home another ring. That would have been nice to see. So I don't mind the Cardinals per se. So I would. This one I'll be any of these, all of them, send them over.
Oh, sure. I mean, this is just more of a big star that, like, you know, hey, it was going to happen, but you kind of secretly hope, like, oh man,
I want him back on my team. Yeah.
Have my league star. Another one, same deal. Victor Bolden, all USFL, Birmingham Stallions star, hero of sorts. Actually, the MVP of the USFL Championship game, the hero of that game for getting the game, at least the flip to take the lead late in the fourth quarter for the Stallions. He also got a look with the Cardinals. I think all these guys came in pretty much as a group. Yeah. So some of them were like taking photos of the facility and all that as we were talking today. Bailey Gaither, one of the top receivers for the Pittsburgh Maulers, caught the game-winning touchdown for their only win this past year.
Yeah, I remember it all too well.
He also, again, Cardinals look. Bryce Tornadin, another all USFL nod. Maulers safety as well. Dude was one of the stars on that side defensively. And the Maulers have two players already signed on to rosters. So, you know, defensively, they are getting looks from that. That defense, again, we talk, it isn't a bad defense. There's talent on that side of the ball. So reasons why they're picking it up. And I'm getting some looks here. And then Dravon Askew Henry, solid cornerback there from the New Jersey Generals. He also has gotten some looks. All these Arizona Cardinals looks for tryouts as of today.
Which I think we'll see one of these guys probably get pulled on. It reminds me of, what was it, the Browns that did this last week? Maybe it was the Cowboys, where they had like 4 or 5 guys try out. They pick up one, right? And I think maybe it was the Steelers did that as well. But you know what? You love to see it. And here's the thing. This is really just this is like kind of the tester too, that tester season of the NFL teams seeing this happen, getting through a season, testing it out. You get through that season 2, I bet you this list is probably around double in size at the same time, because they'll kind of know what they're getting into, what types of players they can look towards kind of achieving to fill their teams. Because, I mean, there's needs all over the place. I mean, these rosters are big, especially in the preseason. And, I mean, the Cardinals, to me, feel like really a perfect team with the type of offense they play as well. Right. And you have Kyler Murray over there. He's kind of an anomaly when it comes to NFL quarterbacks right now. When you look at his height, instantly people said, this dude's never going to make it. You know what? Myself included a little bit. I'm not going to lie. But somehow, some way, he's a sneaky little guy and he gets it done. And I think that offense helps. And you know what? I think some of these guys, I mean, put a Victor Bolden there with them. Maybe it's only on punt returns, something like that. But you can make a positive, bring a benefit to this team. I mean, all of these guys could, no matter what, right?
Well, sure. I mean, Bolden's presence in terms of a return ability, at least return man's aspect, his all-purpose yards, what really propelled him, I think, to the status he's gotten. He's a do-it-all type of player. I know the Cardinals, that's the thing. You know, their depth at receiver is what'll be, I think, hard for anyone if they do get signed there between like Gaither and Bolden. Again, these are tryouts, but say they get signed, that's going to be kind of tough. I mean, even with, you know, Hopkins having a suspension and all that, Marquise Brown going to be there. You know, Rondell Moore is supposed to have been taking up more space. So a competitive position. That's what I say. Receivers, I'm like, I always am happy. That's a tough one to go into the camp unless you already have established yourself. Is you really have to fight for that spot a little bit more. Same for secondary position players, cornerback in particular as well. But I hope, like I said, I hope these guys at least get signed. They get a look for sure. Get themselves a little more tape, or some of them get lucky and they lock down a spot, and not just luck, not even just lucky. They play their way to a spot.
Oh, absolutely.
They practice and show their skills to a spot, and it'll be a test for it. But good, it's good. Like I said, with the NFL season around the corner, these tryouts are going to become a little more prevalent with July rolling down. You're going to see, I think, a few more times you'll see news bulletins of this team brought in said people to try. And it's going to happen. Like I said, you want those 90-man camp rosters. They want to fill out spots to have competition. So the sooner they get those in, the better. I definitely believe that we're going to hit double-digit signees going in here. And I think the hope is, with the second season, and then if the NFL sees players that come from this league that are all USFL, make an impact, stick on rosters, then possibly we can see that be more of an avenue moving forward. That's the whole deal. The NFL won't admit it, but they do want to have. I mean, they of course assisted with the USFL's rulebook and such, and they have with the XFL their own thing. Nonetheless, they want one of these to stick. They want a avenue to have players go back, get more experience, and then be ready to come in and fill roster spots, or maybe be diamonds in the rough that needed a little extra time, or maybe they missed on scouting, which does happen. It doesn't always happen,
sure,
but it does happen in the NFL. So that's what this avenue is for. And so I hope this first year we see the start of it with this later, of course, release of players. And then maybe that, trust with NFL rosters and signings from coaches, they look at that avenue with the league sticking around. It goes in farther into the well next season.
Sure.
When they can find people.
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw, so I added something to the notes as well. So you had mentioned the XFL, right? So the XFLs, they got a big announcement coming up here this Sunday. They're announcing team cities. They're announcing team venues. I think the cities are all but known, unless... I'm not going to say it is, but I saw a couple people pontificate if that list that we've seen circulating is final. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm not jumping in the speculation zone on that. I am going to make it at least a little bit relevant to the show that we have. I'm sure you saw, because I posted this on the Ref Says social media the other day. Mike Florio, man, he's going ham over here. He's bringing the band, so I'm not gonna lie. I it's worth talking about here. I do want to so Mike Florio, he put an article about the XFL, their big announcement coming up, team cities, team venues, blah blah blah. I just want to read an excerpt from near the end of the article because it's too damn funny to not talk about. So the league, purchased out of bankruptcy by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Danny Garcia, is set to resume playing shortly after the Super Bowl. ESPN and ABC have an exclusive broadcasting deal with the XFL. But that doesn't mean we'll ignore it, even though ESPN has completely ignored the USFL, whose games were televised in 2022 by Fox and NBC. And I mean, Florio, bro, dude, sign you up. I don't know, has he always been this gristled? I mean, I feel like I haven't seen him go this hard on something like this before. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I audibly laughed out loud when I saw this last night, 2 days before this episode releases, because it's just damn funny.
Mike Florio's relationship with the alternate football scene is one of the most fascinating things that I tune into Pro Football Talk for. Like anything that is USFL, XFL, non-NFL related, his take on it's interesting because he's kind of devolved at some point in the way he talks about it. Because I know when the AAF was around, he was very pro AAF from what I have gathered from people I've talked to. But when the XFL came around, I think he saw the AAF went down and went, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
It's like 2.0, that is. He's like, it's just I'm going to just do the decline TV ratings pieces and hit on those. And now he's in this weird middle ground because remember, Pro Football Talk is an NBC property. So it's kind of, he does still maintain his independent voice, but he still kind of goes, this is, my company did buy the rights to broadcast. So he does see the benefits, I think, a little.
Oh, sure.
But like he is very much like NBC lets him talk the way he talks. I'm not going to comment on his thoughts on the ESPN thing. But honestly, if you know TV companies and media companies, you shouldn't be surprised. So that's the baseline I'll give you. And he's just doing that. It's a quip he can throw in, and it'll be a zinger for someone to go, oh.
Well, it made me laugh. It made me laugh. So you know what? Sign him up, Florio. Sign him up.
I had an hilarious chuckle. Not at the other league. By
the way.
Let's not construe that.
Yeah.
I'm laughing at Mike's
because it's damn
on
funny
how he did that. That's what kills me.
I just imagine if I wrote that in an article, dude, the pitchforks and fire would be there so fast. So I commend Florio for dropping it like it's hot, telling it like it is. You know what? Sign him up. I want to see more of this Florio in the future. His coverage of these leagues moving forward, I think I want to keep seeing the evolution of Mike Florio's relationship with alternative football, spring football. Because it's only going to keep going. Will we talk about the MLFB? I was about to say, does he know about the MLFB, dude?
Is he aware of the MLFB?
I'm going to send him an email. Mr. Florio, I know you have a contentious relationship with spring football, but did you know you could invest for only 2 cents? You yourself could be the owner of a professional football league, Major League Football.
Are you a day trader?
Yeah.
No, I'm messing. But no, I mean, like I said, his relationship with alt football kills me. Funny little thing of the week, I guess. It is what it is. But, you know, we've talked online there's some people that want to beef about it. Others don't. I think this was just more for clicks, but like it has that undertone where people can take it like that. You know, again, it's alt football. You know, we just cover this league because it started up and we wanted to see where it goes first. It's the honest truth, you know.
Dude,
it's on the field right now.
Zach, think if this was a horrible failure, what would we do?
Very good question. I have a lot of thinking to do. A lot of thinking to do if that would just be the case. So
no, it worked out, and I am amped for season 2, man. I am amped.
I'm very excited for season 2, and It's not really a season 2 thing. This is kind of a look back at season 1 in some aspect. And I saw this part because this came up on a little bit of a Sports Business Journal write-up. They do like these kind of like, here's the news of the week wrap-up articles. They'll put like 2 or 3 main articles that they could put in and like bullet points. And this was in the bullet points. So I thought it was kind of unique. Like I caught it last minute, like you were here at the show during the show. So this is a USFL point, and this is from Sports Business Journal. Quote, the USFL credits Perch, an AI-powered weight rack, for helping its players train more safely and efficiently during its past inaugural spring season, writes sports techies Tom Friend. Developed by a team of 3 former MIT students, Perch combines a compact 3D camera with machine learning to produce a foot-long device that calculates the weightlifter's sets, reps, velocity, and power output. The Patriots and Steelers use this tech as well. So a little bit of a fun fact that now, why did I bring this up? So the USFL did have they did some promo videos in the weight room back in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And one of them was some sort of a tech-based like analysis on performance. They didn't show who it was specifically, but I imagine this is kind of where the connection comes now, where Perch was probably involved in at least one of these workouts.
Yeah.
So, you know, take that as you will. You learn a little bit of something today about the league. It's building things up. Not everything gets revealed, you know, I don't think all the time. So like, I think having this kind of slip out, it was just a nice little nugget to go, kind of connecting the dots on
it's just more insight into the little cool technologies that, I mean, maybe weren't a huge story or that leaked out earlier in the year, but it kind of gives you an insight into how they're doing things, how they're trying to be forward thinking. And I feel the same way about the XFL. So I'll make that point clear as well. I mean, all of them have their own little niche products, niche little tools that they're using. I mean, with the XFL, we saw so much experimentation, everything from the dual sky cams to the drones was a big one, the helmet cam. Some of those things are going to stick for season 2. Some of them are just going to quietly go away and never be spoken of again. I was worried that the drones was one of those things, but as we saw, they made a return for the playoffs there. So I think we'll see that. And honestly, the drone thing is something I'm telling you is going to be in the NFL. It's going to be in all sorts of sports. Just wait until the next time the Olympics come. And I think they'll probably have that. They'll be even smaller, even quieter. You won't even be able to tell on the broadcast. Or they'll come up with some type of sound canceling technology to where for the end user, the camera, I mean, they can do that. It's never perfect, but I mean, to the average ear, most people aren't going to notice. But I mean, the drone racing thing in itself is just a cool sport. I know they were doing that at the World Games.
There you have it.
Yeah.
I was going to say if you didn't.
Yeah.
I was about to say if you didn't.
And it looks gnarly, man. I mean, one thing that, YouTube with their algorithm, you watch one little video, next thing you know, YouTube's like, hey, you want to see another? And
right.
Red Bull had this thing where there was a drone pilot sitting on a building like a quarter mile away from where this was all happening. And it was a downhill BMX rider. And I want to say it was like in Spain or Madrid. I don't know, somewhere exotic and hilly. And they had to do this a couple times because the drone camera, the camera kept going out, the camera feeding to him, but it was still attached with like an HD camera, but he wasn't getting that feed. But sooner or later they got it. And it's just the coolest footage of watching this BMX guy go downhill for like a couple miles with a camera just almost steady, just a few feet right behind him. It's just a gnarly shot,
sure.
right? And I just see, as they get these things more tuned, we're going to get even better shots in the NFL. Just think like, okay, yeah, we had one group of guys running the drones for the USFL this year. As drone piloting becomes more and more popular, because I'm going to tell you, it is, and even more automated, because it will, there's going to be some cool views that we got to get out of this. And I think we saw a good mix, right? I think the worry, I know we're going on a real tangent about the drones here.
Oh, yeah.
But
I'll bring it back home with this at some point. But, I don't know. I mean, look, it's going to happen. I mean, it's not like the USFL is the only league that's using drones either, too, even just for cameras. This will be the rare time I mention the Fan Control Football League. They've also been using this very much the same deal. So it's getting adopted everywhere, or starting to get more and more adopted. And like you talk, technology always improves in the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
It's all about adoption rate first. Then it's about how do you improve the said piece of tech or said piece of whatever you're buying or consuming. How do you improve that now that it's been integrated at mass scale? Right. And so the drone setups and use in sports is going to keep growing. Then it goes to how do you improve upon that besides just I'm on the field. Okay, what can I do better on the field? Right. Exactly like that. Or you improve the quality of the cameras, which some leagues have like even better quality than the USFL's ones, just as a heads up. So,
oh sure,
it's crystal clear image. It's a snowball. It goes, or you like add adjustments, attachments. Extension of what you have as a base, I guess.
100%. Yeah. But that's why I love these leagues, right? That's why I love the spring football leagues. It's the opportunities for the players, the opportunities for the coaches, and just the experimentation and new little features. I mean, going back to the old XFL, people forget there was no sky cam in the NFL till the old XFL, right? And so I see a very, very similar situation here with drone cams, maybe the helmet cam, maybe not. I don't know if that one gets carried over. But we'll see. We'll definitely see some innovations, players, and probably coaches in the near future during the regular season. And man, sign me up there.
Yeah, and I'll finish up. I wanted to retouch on Perch before we get out of here. So I recommend you go check out their site, by the way, perch.fit. Quite a fascinating setup. Like I hadn't really seen the whole thing, but like it involves like you have a camera rig on the weight rack. You've got it feeding to like a tablet setup where it feeds data on basically your velocity and how you operate with a bench rep, whether it's a squat or bench press or whatever you set up with on that data set. And then you can get that instant feedback that way for, getting the best out of your workout. So it's funny. This sounds like an advertisement. It's not. I'm just telling you that this is what the league's using. And apparently others, not just like Steelers and the Patriots, I guess, you have the likes of like the Miami Dolphins, LSU football, University of Kentucky, Virginia, Tennessee Titans, the Orlando Magic. It's kind of a popular setup. So
now I'll say this
as we're seeing.
real quick, Zach, just
Yes.
before we get too far from it.
Sure,
This is
sure.
not an advertisement, but it could be, Perch. For just a nominal fee, you could sponsor this very fine episode of the USFL podcast and many more. They're on a weekly basis. Get in touch. Sign you up. But for now, it's not an ad. Go on, Zach.
We'll leave detail. We'll leave the URL and the link here for you to check them out. My final point on this is that we're seeing the conversation on sports data grow.
Oh, yeah.
Something that I didn't realize was as big of a convo until recently, which actually I'll say this. I'll thank the XFL on that front for bringing that up, because I didn't realize this was a big deal, but it is now.
Oh, yeah.
So something to keep in mind. Players want to know what they can get how to get the best out of themselves. And really, it does fit into the spring football scene. Like, how do I make myself that much better to get to the next level I want to go to? So something to pay attention, folks. It's going to keep being another thing that top programs will be using more and more. We ever get so more analytical on it, something to keep in mind. But yeah, take that home with you. Little fun nugget that I appreciate Sports Business Journal for highlighting. I'm glad we got to talk on that one. So something I get to dig in a little bit. And yeah, check out Perch.fit. I think that's about it for this week. Nothing too much to add on. We'll keep monitoring signings. Hopefully some announcements. I would imagine, there was some rumor of something that might have been going on and might be going on Birmingham later in the fall. But between that, we're waiting to see bigger news. I mean, clearly they got hubs to decide on. They got other aspects on terms of draft details. We've had one or two that seems like they're being players getting signed on, which, as Skip Holt said, the free agency is open right now. So there's kind of a mix of a free agent market and a USFL draft pool market.
Yeah, I want to get clarification on that. That's why I haven't really talked about it yet, but I've seen a couple things saying that some guys have signed with the Generals. And now what I've always been told is wait to see the official notice from the league. So that's what I'm doing for now. Not to say that I don't know. I just don't know how accurate any of the reports are just yet. I am looking into it, though, because I'm curious. I am curious what the what the rules are for that in the offseason, because it seems like speculation zone that there may be some things going on. So that's kind of neat in itself.
Yeah, maybe so. Well, until next time, everybody, first off, if you haven't followed us on social, please, what are you doing? We are going to be doing shows throughout the summer into the winter, as frequently as we can. That's how I'm going to put it right now. And we'll keep you up to date, obviously, when those come out. But please stay tuned to us at USFL Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, check us out. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, click the bell, builds morale. We are still looking to give away a USFL jersey of your choice once we hit 5,000 subs. That's going to stay up. We're going to keep on promoting that, and we are going to hit that 5,000 at some point.
And I did something while you were gone, Zach.
What'd you do?
I bumped it up. So I said, now if you get to 5K, because they have the personalized jerseys, we're going to make it a personalized. It's a little bit pricier, but I think our fans are worth it.
I think so.
Sign them up.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at some people have made customs. Our own buddy Jake Henry, he got an Eric Berrier one.
Yeah, he did.
That just came in. Number 18. It's got that nice maroon color and everything onto it. That came to his place. But yeah, we'll guarantee you guys one of those when we hit that 5K mark. And folks, I know some people have been asking, what are your plans for another live event? Because we surprisingly we've already gotten those too.
Yeah.
Trust me, we're going to have a spring stock. It's pretty early, though.
Yeah, we don't even know where yet. I mean, we can assume it's in Birmingham, but maybe honestly, it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know.
Honestly, this is our moment to say to the league, hey, you get announcements out, we'll start planning spring stock a little sooner. So that's how that plays out right now. Spring stock's happening. We just can't give you details because we don't know enough.
Well, Zach already knows the crazy things going on in my head for spring stock 2. So, okay, all you need to know for now, folks, Spring Stock 2 is happening. It has the potential to be huge, we'll say. It's going to be fun either way. And I mean, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll fly out. You're in Indianapolis. I don't know if I want to go to a Colts game, but Maybe I'll fly out there and we can do a fall
surprise
stock,
live event.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, maybe not do a stream or anything, but maybe if people are in the Indianapolis area or something like that. Because I'm thinking they don't play. Yeah, they wouldn't play a Thanksgiving game. But I'm coming into Illinois. Well, you're a Bears fan. Maybe you'd want to come down to Chicago.
Oh no, trust me. I already have one pegged outside of the show. That's going to be a live event with our buddy Kelsey Coyne, who was with us at Summer Stock. Still working those details, but it is going to happen. So I will be out on scene for at least that. Hey, if I can get to 2 Bears games somehow in a year, that's pretty damn good. Because I haven't been to a Bears game in a long time. It has been a minute.
Yeah.
I know I'm only 27, but it has still been a minute in my lifetime since I've been. So,
dude, bro,
too long.
Let me look at this timing because November 13th, the Lions are taking on the Bears. Oh, and I'm going to be in Illinois the week after, so maybe I come out early.
Ooh.
Oh, it's a Thursday game, too. We might have to figure this one out, Zachy boy.
Huh. You know, we'll talk.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that for now.
Yeah,
I think that's the best way. We'll talk.
Yeah, let's figure this out.
Talk.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Look, I mean, I appreciate you guys. I mean, you guys are following along with us in the offseason. We love it. And keep following along with the league. I mean, they're announcing all these signings. You'll want to stay tuned to their social for just that, you know, because that is very rewarding to see players that are going to the NFL thanks to getting some more tape in the USFL and getting those opportunities, getting those accolades for some of these guys. So stay tuned. More signings are definitely coming. More workouts definitely coming. We'll report on those. And whenever big news happens at some point, emergency podcast will be a thing. And we'll jump in earlier than just Fridays. But for now, look for Fridays when we do releases still. We'll keep to that as close as possible. For my buddy, my partner, co-host, good friend, the ref himself, I am Zack. Kyle, say it so long. Thanks again, as always. Appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next episode to talk a little bit more on some off-season, do some off-season ins, outs, and you name it. Stay tuned to this channel. See you next time.